like it's that time once again. Here we are in a brand new year since a lot of bad stuff happened last year. And I saw a bunch of movies. So going from worst to best, this is the top 12 movies.
But what day?
I know, and I saw it.
Then why don't we look at the television tape?
It was a government cover-up, okay?
No, it's got a door. It doesn't have a lid.
More of a dome shit.
Maybe if we talk women and brought them into this thing.
Maybe just kill him just a little bit. Big tough astronaut guy has a princess phone in his room. And burlap head wound. I think it's a burlap head, too.
There's an explosion. That's it.
We're up a specific tree.
But the UFO's been raised.
He's deep.
Betty wait till she was back on asteroids.
Harry, we just heard.
You're not ready.
It's a bad Burt Reynolds look-alike.
Let me go. It's plastic.
So are you.
I like that.
I just know you're in a heap of trouble, boy. Alright?
Number 12, the live-action Lilo and Stitch remake. Disney live-action remakes are great, and this one is no exception. However, what hurts about this one the most, besides the fact that it is a live-action remake of my favorite Disney movie, is that this remake fundamentally misunderstands the original, making unnecessary changes like changing Jumper's voice to sound just like some normal guy, or even changing his personality entirely to be a boring, smug-ass villain. Which was not at all what the original Jumper was. Okay, so he was still an unethical scientist, but he wasn't heartless like this piece of shit remake suggests. He's more like Gatu than Jumper. What the fuck is Gatu anyway? So apparently they cut him because, and I quote, didn't translate well into the live accent. Yeah, okay. You could say that about this whole movie. Okay, you could even say that for the other Disney live action remakes. For some reason, they felt like adding more fluff to an already beefy movie. Which I still don't fucking get, by the way. Like, why bother adding that Nanny wants to study marine biology when it doesn't even impact a lot of the movie, except for the end, all while cutting down on stuff that didn't need to be cut. The scene where Lilo throws her door only to hug it and pick it back up, gone. How about when Stitch tries to look for his family, ugly duckling style, only to realize he's lost? Cut. In fact, this leads to another issue I have. Lilo and Stitch's chemistry are practically non-existent. Part of that may be that Lilo's new actress has to look at nothing, which is why it kind of falters. In fact, why wasn't the puppet that was used in the marketing used for the movie too? Looked way more convincing. For some reason, the non-existent lifeless one used instead. But I also have another reason. You see, in the original, they showed a natural growth between Lilo and Stitch, showing how it wasn't as simple as them liking each other. It has ups, it has downs, you know, just like any typical friendship. But here, it is literally the progression from point A to point B. Not only does this remove any and all sincerity, but it also doesn't make me feel anything, even at the threat of them being separated. You know, kind of like the guy But my biggest problem comes in the form of a brand new character, Mrs. Tutu. Now, I want to make something very clear. I don't hate the character. Not at all. But her creation does create a problem. You see, along with her new barely explored marine biology, Tutu being here creates a solution. But a solution to something that wasn't even a problem to begin with. You see, in the original, both parents bit the bullet. Evidently, that would be part of why living together would be hard for both of the sisters. It's why, when they see Ohana means family and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. Look at the good photo at the end of the original. Notice how only 2 of them are actually related. You see, this is because, and I cannot stress this enough, the family is not just a literal thing, but it also has a figurative meaning that shows that as long as a chosen group of people are there for one and another, no one is left behind. Wow, it's almost as if Ohana had a deeper meaning or something. Oof. Which, yeah, the remake doesn't really get either. This one me. You're better off with a postcard. Or better yet, just stick with the original. Oh, and by the way, no, I didn't give any money. I'm not a sucker.
But what day?
I know, and I saw it.
Then why don't we go to the telemetry tape?
But there's a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 11, Jurassic World Rebirth. What are we doing anymore? What keeps making them think they can capture the magic when that hasn't worked once in the 5 previous attempts? Jurassic World Rebitchify is the latest suckfest, and guess what? It's still not good. You know how the last movie tried a bit with the new creatures? Well, it's back to basic as they just combined their favorite Brachiosaurus with a marsupilami, and apparently that makes it, oh, so whimsical. Oh, so magical. The plot, again, is still something you'd see in Fern Gully. It still contains holes, like how can one snicker wrapper cause an entire lab malfunction? Wouldn't there be trash to prevent that? And for that matter, how did the guy even sneak it in? I'm pretty sure you can't even eat in a lab. Ideas are still not taken advantage of, even when offered, like dinosaurs roaming around the fucking world, or essentially be like a combination of Jurassic Park and Predator. Who wants to see that?
I do.
Humor is still not funny. Chewing Mitch loudly. Yeah, I'll just say it. This is another dino dump to avoid at all costs.
But what day?
I know, and I saw it.
Then Then why don't we go to the telemetry tape?
But there's a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 10, a Minecraft movie. I already don't really touch Minecraft all that much, but the movie certainly brought a different flavor. Some of the monsters looked okay, like the creeper for example, but some of them didn't look okay, like the skeletons. But the Minecraft world simply didn't click with me. Looks okay, but the movie is over-reliant on the CG and especially green screen makes it so that I never believed they were actually there. Especially with it all looking so blah. I feel like this movie often changes the rules from the game, but the way it's done usually ends up making less sense. And okay, if the world wasn't it, then the characters are what help, but in this movie's case, I just didn't like any of them. Jason Momoa's character especially, I just didn't find them all that fun or even interesting.
First we mine, then we craft. Let's Minecraft!
But what day?
I know what I saw it.
Then why don't we go to the telemetry tape?
But there's a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 9, Paddington and Peru. Despite being disappointed in Wonka, I actually ended up enjoying this one more. And funny how this one has a brand new director, since I actually considered this one on par with the first movie. For starters, I feel the movie focused a bit too much on the whimsical, as especially in the beginning with the music being so warm you could throw up cheese, but they could get better, and they have gotten better at feeling less like an over-the-top Steven Spielberg movie. I like how the kids are older and not just stuck in time like The Simpsons or Family Guy. The comedy was about as strong as the first movie. I think the second one was funnier overall, but there were still laughs to be had. I wish the cinematography was more varied. There were a lot of zooming in to notice and needed a bit more variety. The villains have kind of a weird flavor, like one isn't actually a villain, he's just being manipulated by ancestors to make him look crazy, which is already really funny, but then you get this crazy fake man who I thought was absolutely hilarious. It's like if C thinks of him like the Messiah. It's bonkers as giving an American a British accent. Oh yeah, this movie does that too. It's more Paddington goodness to enjoy with a side of marmalade sandwich.
What day?
I know what I saw it.
Then why don't we go to the telemetry tape?
But there's a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 8, Nobody 2. I'll admit, I'm not too big on the first movie. We couldn't juggle between the serious tone and the comedic one. I thought the pacing was too slow, to the point that the movie only got interesting halfway, and the only saving grace was the final battle.
This is the war at the void.
The sequel had a lot to improve. It did, because I loved it. He managed to better juggle the two tones, coming from a Vader's religion, nostalgia. And I thought that the movie made what swearing usually doesn't have enough substance on its own to be funny, and they knew that. So they made it so that swearing isn't just the punchline, but it's also adding on to the humor. Music puppies, take notes. The characters were a lot more interesting, and I managed to get more invested in them than the first movie. I actually
care for them. My personal favorite is the villainess. She's like Edna Mode from The Incredibles, Death from Puss in Boots 2, Ren Hawk from Ren and Stimpy, and Cruella from 101 Dalmatians, except she turns out to be some psychotic concoction, and I know that. The action is a lot more inventive for the most part, but again, the best one is the last one, where they set up the amusement park like a Home Alone Scooby-Doo mix-up trap. So much fun. This is one hell of a family vacation.
But what did?
I know what I saw it.
Then why don't we look at the telemetry tape?
So there's a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 7. K-pop Demon Hunters. Admittedly, I'm not exactly head over heels in love with this one, as so many others are. I don't like that it still uses the liar review trope. I still have no idea what was up with the weird abs, corn, wild thing. Seriously, what was that? I don't really think K-pop is my thing because the songs are okay, but they really are in one ear and out the other for me. I don't remember any of them, but I mostly didn't like the way the main characters are written. It's like somebody tried to write teenagers, but desperately tried and didn't fully grasp.
Yeah, this plane's trashed.
Okay, but I do have positives. I don't just hate this movie. For starters, the animation and the whole style is absolutely eye-catching. They especially shine when fights get to happen. Despite my complaint earlier, I still really enjoyed Rumi's character arc about self-acceptance as a demon. But like I said, I'm not exactly head over heels in love. This demon hunt is more like a meh hunt.
What did?
I know what I saw it.
Then why don't we look at the telemetry tape?
So there's a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 6, Superman 2025. Like I said in my quick review, I grew up more as a Batman fan and only really got into the Man of Steel, the blue and red tights he used later. In terms of movies, I like the first Christopher Reeve Superman. I like the theatrical cut of the second movie. The director cut can blow me though. For Superman 3, this is the worst one, but this one makes me more sad anyway. Commend them for trying to emulate the first movie while you realize how fucking stupid the third one was, which means the comic has been thankfully dragged into the street. Son, it looks more in line with the first two. It's abundantly clear they wanted to apologize for the movie with the similarity to the photos, the whole whimsical atmosphere, the soundtrack similarly approached to the first movie. But the disappointment comes in for me when they just didn't get what made the first one work. From the repeated shots of Superman flying, the repetition of the whole flying with Lois Lane, which is a scene from the first movie, beat for beat, complete with the kissing from the second movie everybody already made fun of.
Side note, did you know that both Robot Chicken and Nostalgia Critic made fun of it the same year? Wow.
To even Nuclear Man as a whole essentially being a rejected Captain Planet villain. But even more stupid, it's kinda sad, really. Superman returns me to sleep.
In fact, even just thinking about it makes me...
And then there was Man of Steel.
Package for Bugs Bunny.
I hate Man of Steel. So when I heard James Gunn was taking the lead for this brand new Superman movie, I was excited but also cautiously optimistic. What if he didn't do it? What if his take on Superman just didn't hit right? Well, worry no more, I did, because this movie kicks ass. Everybody was perfectly cast, my favorite being David as Clark and Superman. He nails the shyness of Clark and the friendliness of Superman, while Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane absolutely nailed the clever, witty personality of the animated series, and Nicholas as Lex Luthor especially pulled it off. He really makes you believe he has an unhealthy hate for Superman. A lot of hate, balanced with a lot of sass. James Gunn manages to bring in Technicolor work whenever he can, and it is pretty. But unlike Man of Steel, where there were enough lives being saved, or Bullfreshman returns, Superman returns, where there wasn't enough fighting, James manages to not only balance the fighting and the saving, but he also better displays the struggle of Superman. What happens when people fear you? What happens when they ultimately hate and turn their back on you? Could you go on? Would you even go on? It leaves a lot more interesting plot than, well, whatever the fuck Man of Steel tried to do. I just wish more of Clark Kent got explored in terms of being a person. His thoughts, his feelings, which Christopher Reeve's version definitely did better. It's the movie you need right now, giving hope, determination, and a bright, optimistic view.
But what did?
I know what I saw.
Then why don't we look at the telemetry tape?
There was a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Wow. Can you believe that this is the movie to outgrow Disney? Wow. Okay, but like the fact that a foreign animated movie managed to achieve that at all, that is impressive. Golf clap. I good golf clap. Okay, but what about the movie itself? For starters, I love that they went all out for their creativity. The worlds, the stuff that's being done in them, and even the characters themselves. It's really a great fresh of breath air for 3D animated movies, and honestly, a mix between the semi-realism that's practically common in every CG kids movie these days, and the cel-shaded style of the Spider-Verse movies, and others, that put their own spin on it. This especially works wonders for this movie's fight scenes. They can be chaotic, they can be absolutely bonkers, and it is incredible. The story is also pretty good, always having you on the tip of the chair guessing what's going to happen next. I guess the only thing I disagree with is this being a Pixar killer, which I don't really agree with.
I mean, come on. Would the Pixar killer include the fart joke, a piss joke, and a vomit joke? I wouldn't think so.
Become the master of your destiny with Neza 2.
But what did?
I know what I saw.
Then why don't we look at the telemetry tape?
There was a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 4, weapons. I'll be honest, I'm not too big on modern horror movies. I either don't find them scary like Creep, find them boring like It 2017, or find them funny, whether it be unintentionally like Five Nights at Freddy's 2, or intentionally like The Monkey. However, with weapons, I think I found an exception. An entire class of kids except for one ran off one night at 2:17 a.m. for seemingly no reason. This gets the teacher in a lot of heat and accusations despite not being the culprit, but at the same time, the community is left to find out who or what caused the whole thing. The cinematography is so creative, it's a lot more unique than most modern horror movies. Speaking of unique, the scares are actually scary. It's unexpected, it's subtle, and most importantly, they don't just scream in your face. Yes, thank you, that's how you do it. At multiple points, my heart was beating very fast. It certainly leaves you uncomfortable. And speaking of uncomfortable, is the gore delightfully devilish. It's crunchy, it's bloody, but most importantly, it's messy. I haven't seen a movie this gory since Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. Not only is it scary, but it's also funny. Everyone is so mean-spirited and selfish, it almost feels like a Dog Walker script, complete with swearing and screaming. The only thing missing is pop culture references and the use of Ren and Stimpy production music. This movie isn't to be used for mass destruction, but it'll give just as much of a scary time and a good time.
But what did?
I know I saw it.
Then why don't we look at the telemetry tape?
There was a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 3, The Naked Gun, 2025. In terms of Naked Gun movies, the first is funny, the second is funnier, and the third, well, it's the weakest one, I can't sugarcoat it. But with that said, this new one already had a lot to carry on its shoulders due to the state of spoof movies. And boy did it ever deliver. First of all, they got Liam Neeson, who you may know as
I have 20,000 Republic Dictator.
bad George Lucas dialogue writing. But of course, like everybody suffered from that in the prequel movies. Because Liam Neeson is actually really great here, who would have thought? This is a huge love letter to the trilogy, and the fact that this isn't just a bunch of references to a bunch of upcoming movies is a sign of that. The acting is absolutely incredible, everybody pulled it off so well, the characters are engaging. I like that Frank Jr. is technically more competent than the actual Frank. I found that funny, and I love how the device used to turn people barbaric is literally called the plot device. The jokes are thankfully pretty funny. It's funnier than 3 and just as funny as the food. The second still reigns supreme for me though, but I'm at least happy it surpasses the third movie. Did I have problems? Yeah, sure. I missed the opening and I wish the soundtrack sounded a lot closer to the original trilogy instead of using boring stock music. But with that being said, I still had fun. Serve, protect, and watch on by.
But what did?
I know I saw it.
Then why don't we look at the telemetry tape?
There was a government cover of a Boston album. What if they opened it up and Meatloaf was in?
Number 2, Bad Guys 2. I really loved the first movie, but this sequel is even more amazing. For starters, did they crank up the animation style? The characters are more expressive and they managed to get a lot of camera shots that I not only don't think the first movie did, but I don't think a lot of animated movies do either. Truly did it ever kick ass. As for the story, they raised the stakes and the tension. You never know where they were going with this, and I loved every moment. The characters have been expanded to be even more interesting than they already are, most notably Wolf and Diane's relationship. It really truly felt like an actual relationship, with stages both up and down. I also liked that neither of them go through the third act breakup like Wolf and Snake did in the first movie. The new bad girls were all unique and distinct. But my favorite is Pigtail.
Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Sorry.
However, Kitty is up there as one of the best villains to the point she surpasses Marmalade, and he's still as funny and threatening as in the first movie. I love how Kitty is shrouded in mystery, like we never find out what he does. Bad guy things. All we know is she does it for the thrill of the ride. She's bad, and that's all that matters. Almost always being one step ahead. She's menacing and a strong gal. I don't think they flubbed a single joke. It was a laughing riot from beginning to end. I love how the whole movie took influence from Akira Toriyama in terms of the wacky and the silly. It may not always be the case, but fingerprints throughout the movie does show that, and I love it. So is there anything I didn't like? I thought they could have just snapped the laptop into when it was uploading Crimson Paw footage. That's about it. This is truly a movie of gold, and boy do I need to start watching the Lupin.
Now, just like last time, I'm giving a few of the runners-up as well as a few recommendations that were not movies. Let's do this!
The Running Man. Edgar Wright didn't disappoint with such a kick-ass movie. Good Boy. Another great horror movie that delivered on the scares purely through atmosphere. It was such a cute dog. You heard nothing. Dogman. A wonderful, funny movie based on a bunch of wonderful, funny books. Fantastic Four for steps. It may not be perfect, but it's certainly better than the second and third attempt. Predator Badlands, a fun popcorn movie where you can just turn off your brain and enjoy the ride. Plus I find it funny. Intentionally funny. Wallace and Gromit, Reg's most foul. Unlike Paul King, Nick Park actually manages to strike again and not lose some of his strike. Zootopia 2. Magic in the air, there's magic in the air. This is such a good sequel. It's funnier than the first, more chaotic than the first. I love these characters, both new and old. I especially like Gary and Pobbert. And oh hey, they did it, they finally pulled off a good twist villain. The music actually ended up more interesting than the new Naked Gun movie, and they're both about the police. Some people might have issue with the whole prejudice thing being a lot more on the nose, but in my eyes, with the way things are, they needed to hit as hard on the head as possible. There's no other way to say it. I love Zootopia 2. Or is it Metropolis 2? Ring Cat, a webcomic about a timid Texas gal named Crimson who enters the RCWF in honor of her father. I say Crimson is the main character, but other characters get the spotlight too, as well, like Saber, for example.
Sabermania, Sabermania, whoa, 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 whoa!
I feel like my only problem is how much spotlight Crimson gets. And I get it, she won't always be there. It's like that one title for a Sabrina online strip, but like an Issue Force, for example, she felt more like a guest character. I'm trying to think of a way to make this less of an issue, and ultimately I'd say sometimes taking advantage of the background can help, like inserting a cameo here and there sometimes. Oh well, regardless, this is one I recommend reading. Enter the Ring and the Ring Cats. Bubsy 40. Leave it to this bobcat to make me go absolutely bonkers, but color me suck, the demo ain't that bad. The moves are fun, the dialogue is funny, really funny, and the levels so far are quite fun to explore. My only problem is Bubsy being too jittery and spastic sometimes.
But hey, what could possibly go wrong? I guess that's just superstition.
Asterix and Obelix, the big fight. Hey, anything that brings more eyes to Asterix is good for me, and good this is, with wonderful animation and great characterization, if not for the horrendous needle drops. But on the plus side, Obelix remembered Boards Before Horrors. He remembered, oh my goodness!
And you never heard of that before? Don't act like this didn't have a huge impact on your life.
Hey you! Chester? Oh anyway, Boards Before Horrors! Fuck yeah, Boards Before Horrors! The Marsupilamis, the latest attempt at a Marsupilami cartoon. Despite the intro sounding like every other modern cartoon intro,
nobody can beat Lou Beggar.
Okay, but like, I actually really like the style it's going for. It's different, but it's equally as charming. It's like a half and half between chibi and the actual art style of the comics. This isn't like the Super Bomberman art style where only some of its aspects works. I think the Marsupilami's art style manages to fully work on its own.
But what about the show itself?
Well, for starters, it seems they added a Ninja Turtle plot point of hiding the creature from everybody else, but in the show itself, they haven't exactly been given a reason. Why? It's been stated why in interviews, but in terms of the actual show, it just hasn't. Maybe if they added a reason, like going back to the Ninja Turtles for example, a big reason they were hiding aside from being ninjas is that people were afraid of them and it varied a lot on what people would do to them. You know, it's not every day you could say you got pulled a gun on by grandma. But yes, they did give reasons for why it was the case, which I think the Marsupilamis should have as well. And not just have it be said in interviews. Have it also be in the show proper.
What about the characters?
Well, the three Marsus are adorable, that's a given. But in terms of the two lead kids, the show doesn't really give much to work with. Sure, there are elements they sometimes give, but I wouldn't really say it's enough to make them both interesting. That's especially odd because the two get more screen time than the three Marsupilamis. When, in all honesty, I think the screen time should be more equal.
So, I didn't hate it, but this felt more like a meh bad than a hooba.
Hooba!
Fuck yeah, hooba hooba hop. Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't have the same fate as Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Speaking of, the second season is out and it pretty much got the same amount of attention as the Marsupilamis. Not a lot. And that's a shame considering how much of a better season it is. The animation got better, the writing got snappier. It's even more Tales of Mutant Reptile Ninjas, but way more improved. And quite frankly, it is a shame that we won't be able to see more of this show anytime soon. Still though, I say give it a watch. It certainly gives even more of that awesome turtle accent.
But what did?
I know I saw it.
Then why don't we look at the telemetry tape?
So there's a government cover of a Boston album.
And the number one movie of 2025
What if they opened it up and
is
Meatloaf was in?
The Day the Earth Blew Up. A 2D animated movie in this economy? Oh man, I must be dreaming. So the big thing here is that this is actually about the Looney Tunes, so no more Michael Jordan, no more Brendan Fraser, and no more LeBron James. This is as Looney Tunes as it gets, and I'm all for it. Speaking of Looney, man are these characters great. Daffy, Porky, Petunia, even the alien is fantastic. But I can't forget about Former Jim. God bless Former Jim represent! But man, they absolutely nailed the humor. It was an absolute laugh riot. In fact, the only not funny joke I can think of is when Daffy twerked. But other than that, every other joke is hilarious, and when it needs to be sad or dramatic, it works really, really well. I love how well developed Porky and Daffy's relationship are. It's so heartwarming, gut-punching, it's a recipe for tears.
And I'm just going to say it. This is what the Agent Strategy tried and failed to be. Think about it.
An alien research experiment that goes wrong, our main leads being broke and in desperate need of cash, our main leads get intertwined with the alien stuff, and it turns out the alien stuff has aliens that aren't the main villain, but something else is. But like I said, The Day the Earth Blew Up is a good movie that actually ended up being finished. I'm really glad this is a 2D animated movie because you get Looney Tunes at their most expressive, at their most colorful, at their most gorgeous. Oh my god, does this movie look so pretty. I really want them to make a sequel, but seeing as how unlikely it is, sometimes all you can really say is, that's all folks.
So there you have it. My movie of yesteryear, from worst to best from the last great year. I mean, what else did it give us?
Oh, anyway, BOARS BOARS!
Oh, yeah. This was Joseph from Joseph World.
Hooba!
Yeah, both before horse. Ah, Blue Bell. Oh, both before horse. Hell yeah.